Hello, this is Darcia and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to make cinnamon rolls and they are one of my favorite desserts, breakfast, lunch, dinner, any kind of food imaginable. They are absolutely to die for. So I'm going to show the entire process, start to finish, so just come along for the ride. I have warm milk and water. 2 cups of milk, 2 cups of water. And I have a Bosch Universal, but a KitchenAid or a Cuisinart, some type of a mixer would work, just as well. To the milk mixture, I'm also going to add a softened stick of butter, and 1 stick of butter is half of a cup. Okay, I have 4 tablespoons of instant yeast. I know that seems like quite a bit, but it's what this recipe has, and I've been making it for most of my life, and I love it. The only thing I'm not gonna put in right on top of the yeast is the salt. It can slow down the rising of the yeast. The milk and the water, by the way, this is 1 cup of white sugar, as you can see, right in here too. We have 2 eggs. I don't crack my eggs directly into my mixture just in case there was a shell that got in there. I would hate that so much. So I crack them into a bowl first, and then I make sure that there's no shell. Oh no, I do have a shell. See, this is why I do what I do. I'm just gonna reach in there and grab it out. Everything else looks fine. And then dump these in. Then we are going to add flour. 7 cups of all-purpose or bread flour. Either one works just fine for this recipe. This measuring cup here was my grandma's measuring cup. Do you see how old it is? It always makes me happy every time I use it. I know many people would be upset with the fact that I'm just scooping into the flour, but this recipe is very forgiving and it allows you to do that. Sometimes you can't. You have to be very precise, and there's a little sugar on here. Let's get that in there. You have to be very precise and you have to weigh your flour. This is not one of those recipes. I love that. So now I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a stir. In the mixer, in the bowl, I want to specify that we do have the whisk attachment. You don't want to have with the Bosch it looks like this. You don't want to have these bread mixing dough hooks yet. You want to have the whisk attachment for this part because it is mostly liquid. So now let's turn it on and let's mix it very well for probably about 5 minutes. I've only been mixing the dough for about a minute, but I realized that I forgot to put in my salt. So don't do that. Put the salt in first before you start mixing. That's what can happen. So this is 2 tablespoons of salt. And now let's just turn it back on again and keep mixing it. Okay, so it's been mixing now for about 4 to 5 minutes. And I'm gonna take the wire whisks out now so you can see the strands of how wet this dough is at this point. Now let's add our dough hook to the machine, and now we're gonna start adding flour. We will add, again, bread flour, all-purpose flour. We're gonna add about 5 to 7 cups, but it depends on humidity in the room, even the gluten content and the type of flour you use. The fat content of your milk, how large your eggs are, this is the liquid. So you wanna watch the dough and only add enough until it starts pulling away and you have a soft dough that feels not quite sticky. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my machine and just start slowly adding flour cup by cup. Now it's not sticking at all. Traditional recipes for a lot of bread or any yeasted dough would call for you to let this sit and rise. But the reason why I love this recipe so much is that you can quickly have cinnamon rolls ready. And the whole process so far has been a few minutes, not very long, maybe 10 minutes. So I'm gonna grease my table with a little bit of cooking oil, and that's just canola oil. I'm gonna spread it around a little bit. I don't use flour because I don't want, my dough isn't the perfect wetness or softness, and I don't want any more flour on it. So I am going to roll it out with an oiled surface. The gluten is so beautifully developed. It smells yeasty. It just kind of has this really nice pull to it. And so this is a large lump of dough. This is gonna make a lot of cinnamon rolls, okay? So I'm just gonna start rolling it out. This recipe, I've been eating it since I was in 8th grade. My teacher, his wife would bring us cinnamon rolls for our birthday. And so everybody in the class would just look forward to birthdays. And so we would eat these cinnamon rolls often throughout the year. They made such an impression on me. I had never had a cinnamon roll as good as these. When I got out of middle school and I started high school, one of my side jobs was making cinnamon rolls, and I sold them. And I learned, I made them so often, I'd probably make these at least once a week, all through high school. And it was a great way to make money. So we're not quite done yet. We're pretty good. We're pretty close. I'm trying to roll this out to be about a ½ inch thick. And you want to roll it out to be a rectangle. So every time I make these, I still reach out, even though it's been over 20 years, I still reach out to my 8th grade teacher, and I tell him to tell his wife, thank you so much for giving me your cinnamon roll recipe and sharing it. Whew. It's a workout. So, at this point, every cinnamon roll recipe I have ever seen has you put melted or softened butter onto your dough. That is where this recipe is different. We do not use butter on the dough. We use heavy whipping cream. And this is where you get your hands really dirty. So, sleeves up. If you have sleeves, you're gonna get your hands in this, okay? And then, or you could use a pastry brush. That would be fine too. But it's so satisfying for me to just get my hands in there. Make sure you wash your hands first. No dirty hands in your food, right? If you love that caramely, cinnamony taste of kind of caramel sticky buns or kind of a caramely cinnamon roll, you will die when you eat these. So now we're gonna do, add brown sugar to this. We're gonna be generous with the brown sugar as well. It just feels like so much sugar, but you're making a lot of cinnamon rolls. This is a 2-pound bag of brown sugar. And I don't think we're gonna use it all, but we're gonna come awful close. Okay, so we used almost all the bag. I'd say we used 3/4 of the bag. So that would be about 1.5 pounds of brown sugar. I'm just gonna kind of lightly brush off my hands. We're just gonna put cinnamon straight away onto it. We use a lot. A lot of whipping cream, a lot of brown sugar, and a lot of cinnamon. I want to make sure that I get it everywhere. No spot looks like it doesn't have cinnamon. You'll notice I'm not really putting a whole lot at this top edge because we want to have that seal a little easier when we roll this. Then we are just carefully rolling these up. I'm gonna have to go back and forth because the roll is so long. At this point, you are gonna be salivating. It already smells like caramel sauce. The brown sugar already kind of just like melting in with the whipping cream. I have my pan here and it's been lightly sprayed with some cooking spray. I cut my cinnamon rolls with dental floss. I took a pretty long, what is it, about maybe 24 inches. I like the cinnamon dental floss. With the dental floss, I'm gonna come in here and cross over, and then you just pull tight to tourniquet. And then you've instantly cut a cinnamon roll. The cinnamon rolls are not touching each other because we're gonna let them rise a little bit. I have put these straight into the oven before and they've been okay. They will rise even in the oven if you didn't let them rise, but I prefer them to rise just a little bit before we bake them. I finished cutting all the cinnamon rolls. So in this pan, we had put 1 dozen cinnamon rolls in, and then I'm gonna freeze these. I'm not gonna let them rise. I'm just gonna put a tinfoil cover on them and put them in my deep freeze, and then we'll let them thaw overnight, come to room temperature and bake them so you can have instant cinnamon rolls for your weekend breakfast at another time. The cinnamon rolls have been rising for about 20 minutes now. They are just about touching almost everywhere. The cinnamon rolls are just about out of the oven and it's time to make the frosting, and that is so delicious. And this is something else very unique about this recipe. It's flavored differently than a lot of frosting recipes. I love knowing that I just need to have whipping cream and powdered sugar. I'm putting just a pinch of salt. It's just to help mellow out that sweetness and give it a little bit of depth. And so now I'm gonna add whipping cream. I add a little bit of pure vanilla extract. And then this is what makes this so unique. I use pure almond extract and I use about a half a teaspoon. It doesn't take very much. I have found that the almond flavoring complements these cinnamon rolls so well. I think this will be perfect. It's a little thick, but when we put it on the cinnamon rolls, it's silky looking and it's smooth and it smells like fantastic almond. So beautiful, I can hardly handle it. You can see some of them have risen up fun and high in the middle. They're golden brown. So now they're frosting, we're just gonna kind of spread it on, kind of glop it on. I often will make my frosting a little bit thinner than this, but it's absolutely preference. If you want it to be thinner, you only need to, I'm gonna get my hands in here, you only need to add more whipping cream. So that is absolutely what you want to do, you know? So as this kind of just sits there and warms up, it will start to melt on the cinnamon roll. So I'm gonna put globs on top of each one of our yummy almond frosting. And then we'll go back and kind of smooth these ones out as they're getting more melty. These are ready to be eaten right now. They will taste the best right now. So I started making these about 1 hour ago. So from the time it took to mix this and to let these rise, and then we baked them for 30 minutes at 350. So let's get ready to eat one. It is the moment of truth. We are going to try our cinnamon rolls. Can you see? They are so soft. It is probably the best thing I've ever eaten in my entire life. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And thank you so much for coming along on this journey of making something that is so near and dear to my heart. Have a great day.